Welcome to Networking with Nathaniel, a podcast where I get to dive deep into the journeys of entrepreneurs, real estate investors, business owners, just people that are making moves in their lives and in their industries. I'm Nathaniel Hovsepian. I am the host of Networking with Nathaniel. Go figure. I am a real estate investor, a health and wellness coach for busy dads. More importantly, I am a husband and I am a father of three amazing little kids who you might hear behind me giggling at the moment. I have done many, many real estate deals. I have helped many dads take control of their health and wellness, but this podcast is not about me. It is about the amazing guests that I mentioned that are business owners, real estate investors, entrepreneurs who come on and they share their successes, they share their journeys, they share their struggles and how they've overcome them. This episode is no different. Before we get to that, a little housekeeping. If you're new here and you're not already subscribed, hang out for a little bit, see if you find any value, anything intriguing about it, and then subscribe to the channel so you can get notified of all future videos that we do. And every time we go live, please hit the like button on the video so we can reach more people. Don't be the person that walks by a $20 bill and just leaves it on the floor. There's a ton of value on this channel and a lot more to come. Without further ado, I'd love to introduce the guest today, somebody that I've met through the Sub2 community, the greatest real estate investing community on earth. He's a business owner. He's been in business for many, many years now, has many, many businesses that he owns and runs with various partners. He is a husband and a father himself, loves getting out and staying active, is a jiu-jitsu practitioner, so tread lightly when you talk to him, treat him nicely. Abraham Gray, welcome to Networking with Nathaniel. I appreciate you, brother.
Hey, what's going on? Nice to be here. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I know we had a scheduling debacle, a mistake on my part. I appreciate you rearranging things in your
It
busy
was probably a little
schedule.
bit of both of our parts, but
I
whatever.
take blame. Yeah. I take blame.
I
I
felt that.
appreciate you coming on. I know like I mentioned, you've got a lot of businesses that you're running.
Yeah.
I imagine that it takes up a lot of your day. And so coming on to a podcast like this, I'm very appreciative of you taking time out of your day to come on and share your journey with myself and the people that are listening live and in the future. So thank you for coming here. Would you kind of, I did a little bit of a intro for you, but just kind of to tell everybody, 60 seconds, who's Abraham?
Yeah. So, like you said, I have had tons of businesses. I have a lot of businesses right now. That's what I really started in business when I was 15. So, as you know, I'm turning 50 this year in a couple months. So
Yeah.
I've been doing business for 35 years now. And when I was 22, I got into real estate. Since then, I've bought and sold thousands of properties. I currently own 200 and something rentals, and I'm constantly doing 12 to 15 fix and flips every single month for many, many years. So, and of course, I do a lot of lending. So I do a lot of lending for people that do fix and flips in the Atlanta market and other parts of Georgia. And that's pretty much what keeps me busy: the lending, the business, and the real estate. Luckily, like you said, most of my businesses I have good partners or really good people that run it. So it doesn't take a ton of my time to do all these businesses. Usually, when I get a business, it takes a lot of time in the beginning, but once you kind of get it going, you can kind of put it on autopilot if you have good managers, good partners that help you run it.
Yeah, I'd imagine having successfully started and grown a bunch of businesses, you have certain systems and procedures that you like to put in place as you grow.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. For operating it, for advertising, for accounting, for every part. Yeah.
Mm. Are there any pieces that you've kind of taken away through certain businesses that you are applying over the years that somebody maybe just getting started out in a business could um,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
everyone that wants to get into business thinks they're going to do amazing and do great. Most people don't. So you've got to take in consideration what happens if things don't go the right way. So you need to come up with a plan B if things don't go well. And what I've seen is in the past, some of my friends, they thought they were going to do really good. They started off not doing well, And instead of like coming up with like a timeline of when to basically give up or when to like change the strategy, they just kept putting money and money and money. And I've had a few people go absolutely broke chasing a business that just wasn't a good business. So you've got to know when to basically get rid of the business if it's not doing good. So I'm very successful in most businesses I do, but for every business I'm successful in, I've had multiple businesses that didn't do well. But people don't see those because I know after 3 months, 6 months, definitely closer to a year, I know this business is not worth having, and I get rid of it soon enough to where I cut, to a minimal loss. That's what's really important. When you have a good business, you got to make all the money on it. But when you have a business that's not going well or not, going the way you thought, you've got to not be emotionally attached, and you've got to be able to figure out a way to get rid of it and cut your losses.
Yeah. I think it's called I don't know what the name of the song is, but like no one to hold them, no one to hold them. Yeah.
Exactly.
Are there any major signs that you would see in a business that says, ooh, it's time to get rid of this? Is it just a numbers thing? Hey, I've sunk this much money into it and it's not
I mean,
making
it's a lot of numbers things, but then besides the numbers, just seeing the market. Like, why is your business not doing good? Are there more competitors? Is the is stuff changing? Are people going more to online? Are people going more to this? Are people is your business as relevant now as it was a while back? Things change in the market all the time, so you've got to be able to adjust and adapt to what's going on with the market. Really, every single business that was making tons of money, if they didn't adapt, they went out of business. Just like the Blockbusters and the Circuit Cities and all. They were amazing business. They were the best businesses, but they didn't want to go digital. They didn't want to go online. So no matter what, as time changes, you have to change with the times.
Yeah, be adaptable. I didn't mention it, but when a few weeks ago when we had our scheduling conflict, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
I made a post about it. Hey, we're being adaptable. I just had happened to the night before pre-recorded one. I'm like, look, this is what we're doing. I had it planned for a couple weeks from now. We're dropping it now. It's pales in comparison.
That's a sign of a successful person. You've got to be able to adapt because stuff doesn't always go right. Things happen. What if there was a power outage right now and I couldn't get on or something? There's stuff you couldn't get on. You have to figure out a way to change it and make it smooth.
I love it. I appreciate it. You have a lot of different businesses. I forget. Did you mention how many?
Right now, I currently have around 3 dozen, but it's changed. I've had like over 300 over my lifetime.
Okay.
So it varies. Sometimes I get more businesses. I've got rid of some. I've sold some. I've closed some down. It depends kind of when you hit me up, but right now, it's around 30 different businesses.
Are there any businesses maybe that you still own or have gotten rid of that you held kind of super near and dear to your heart?
No, I mean, that's the thing. It's really important not to get emotionally attached to your businesses. So I purposely don't. And I knew, for the last 25 years, not to do that. Like in the beginning, I did, that's how I learned not to. And you just got to learn not to get emotionally attached. So I really don't. There's obviously some businesses I like more than others just because I use the business. I actually do stuff in the business. But typically the businesses that I end up liking the most are the ones that make the most money. That's pretty much the way it always works. I mean, think about it. If you're doing something and you enjoy it, but you're not making any money doing it, and now you're doing something that you don't dislike, but it's not like something that you really like, but you're making a ton of money doing it, just over time you're going to naturally love that thing because what you're getting out of it is a big reward, and you're going to end up loving that thing. So that's kind of what happens. Whatever you tend to make the most money on, you usually end up liking a lot more. So but definitely don't get emotionally involved because that's how you could lose a lot of money, and it's a downfall for people.
Yeah, it makes it harder to cut ties with it.
You're big in real estate. Like if you get emotionally attached to a property and you want more for it than it's worth, or you paid more than it's worth, you're going to get screwed. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Sounds like a seller issue. Yeah. That's why they say don't name your farm animals and stuff, because when it comes time, it's harder to oh gosh, that's rough. Sometimes I go off the rails on the podcast a little bit. I'm trying to, one thing I'm working on with the networking with Daniel is standardizing some of the questions across all the guests. I like to keep it pretty conversational like we've been, but asking similar questions to everybody. That way we can get a sense of where they're at in their businesses, what their goals are, how people who are listening, even myself included, may be able to bring you what you are needing or wanting in your business. One that I am debating whether I'm want to ask, but to everybody, but I want to ask to you, because you've been so successful in all your businesses, is what your current definition of wealth is and financial freedom, if you want to look at it that way, and how that's changed over time as you've grown all your businesses.
Yeah, I think the definition of wealth, financial freedom, is just getting to a point where you're happy. I think really the happiness is the ultimate financial freedom. So I know people that, make $50,000, $60,000 a year, and they're more happy than people that make 500,000 a year. They have a better life because they're happy. I think everything ultimately ends up just relating to how happy you are. So, everyone has a different goal, and every goal is the reason why you have that goal is typically because that's what's gonna make you happy. So, I just think that as long as you're happy in life and have what you want, and you have that love around you, and you have all that, I think that's really the most important thing as far as being successful.
Yeah, I love that. Is that something that you feel like you've always felt like you've always had, or is that definition changed over time as you've gotten older, had a family, all those things?
I mean, I think that definition's been there for me for at least 20 some years. I mean, when I was a teenager in my early 20s, maybe it was a little bit different. But
Mm.
as you grow up and mature and see what life's really about and what the end game is, and you're gonna live life, you got to be happy. If you're happy, nothing else really matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everything you do in life is to make you happy. So there's nothing you're doing in life that's not going to ultimately make you happy. And sometimes you're working, and that might not make you happy, but you're working so you can get money, so you can buy this. That's going to make you happy. So it all leads up to happiness. There's nothing anyone does in life that doesn't lead to their happiness, or else they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Hmm. It's very wise. I love this. Where, if you had to pick one business, maybe, or if you kind of had multiple businesses where this question is applicable, what are some goals that you have for the rest of the year? We're coming into the second half of 2025. We're closing in on it, the halfway point here. What are the business goals that you would set for yourself for the year, or maybe 3-5 year marks?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have like particular goals. My goal is just to do as good as I'm doing in the past, and just try to increase it a little bit at a time. But on top of that is also getting people in place in my businesses that can take a lot of the workload off me that I don't like doing. So I do a lot of stuff throughout the day, but 99% of it I really like doing. And every so often, every week, every month, I find something. I'm like, you know what? I don't really like doing this. And those are the things that I try to figure out somebody else to do. So my goal is always to do a little bit more business and to take as much of the stuff I'm doing that I don't like to somebody else, which I've been doing pretty good with for a while. So there's not much stuff I do that I don't enjoy, but that's pretty much the ultimate goal. As far as how much money you need to make and all that, it doesn't really matter, because I've kind of already got as much as I could ever need, like for what I want to do. But now it's just kind of just making sure that you're progressing, making money, so you just feel confident about yourself. No matter how much money you have, the richest people in the world are always working and always making more money. Why? Does Elon Musk need more money? Does Warren Buffett need more money? Do they need more money? They don't need more money. But if they quit working and they weren't progressing and they weren't making more money, they just wouldn't feel good about themselves. They'd feel like a loser. So you've got to always make yourself realize that you're progressing and that you're still able to do what you were able to do before, and do better. So it's not necessarily always about the money, but it's always about psychology, just making sure that you feel good about yourself and that you're able to, get better and better yourself. And then of course, better all the people around you. Like once you get to a point where you get older, now you want to help your kids, you want to help, your friends, you want to help just other people that look up to you. So, that's part of it as well.
This is reminding me of, as you're growing as a leader, it becomes less about yourself and more about the people around you. And I imagine, you have all these businesses, you're supporting the employees, the people that you have underneath you and their families and their dreams and their goals. And
Mhm.
I love that you're creating that, for everybody else, and you're going out and doing what makes you happy and makes you excited.
For
You
sure.
mentioned that it maybe, and it doesn't sound necessarily like you're specifically looking for somebody right now, but you mentioned wanting to bring people in to kind of take certain things off your plate. Is there anything that you've identified as something that you're trying to take off your plate right now?
Well, not really right this moment, because
Mm.
as I see that, I find someone to take off my plate. But if you see my post on Facebook and other social medias, you'll see I'm looking for someone to do this, I'm looking for someone to do that. Luckily, I find people to do that stuff pretty fast usually.
Yeah.
So, then I have months and months later, before I need to find somebody else to do something else. But um, I'm at a really good point right now to where I'm kind of doing exactly what I want to do. I'm having fun all day throughout the day. I can't wake up. I can't, I, I always want to wake up the next day. I'm ready, because I know it's going to be
Yeah.
a fun day. So that's kind of where I'm at right now in life.
I love that. Are you is there anything in your businesses that you've kind of identified as roadblocks or struggles that are preventing you from keeping that growth and keeping that at least steady compared to what you've done historically?
I mean, so there's always ways to grow my businesses a lot more. But what I've seen is, or what I know is, if to do to get them to like a crazy different level, I'm gonna have to spend a certain amount of time on it, and the time is not worth the money for me. Like I can make a lot more money, but I have to spend a lot more time, and I'd rather not. Like I said, I just enjoy what I'm doing now. I'm having
Yeah.
fun, and I'm at a point and age in my career where I don't really want to be super aggressive and grow everything crazy and do a lot more work. But when I was younger, I would. So right now, it's not like something I really care to do.
Yeah. It sounds like, at least, in more of the protect, keep everything secure,
Mhm.
and, not lose anything. Um, from the audience here, kind of in the realm where they're, what is a business that you would like to pursue that you have yet to conquer, from Yolanda Stewart?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. There's not really a business that I really want to conquer.
Yeah.
If there was something I really wanted to do, I would go after it, and I would do it for
Yeah.
100%. I had businesses that I wanted to conquer when I was younger, and I've done it all now. So
Yeah.
again, I'm at a point where I want to just do what I'm doing, get it to where it does a little bit better every single month, every single year. Eventually, teach my good friends here, my managers, how to do it, and let them do it on their own. I have three
Mm.
kids. My kids are at the age where in the next few years they're going to start doing a lot of this stuff. So I have a 17-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 13-year-old. So my older two are starting to come to the office, and I'm teaching them some stuff. So I think the next part of business would be just having them know how to do a lot of the stuff I'm doing, and help them to, and watch them be able to do it on their own at some point.
I love that. Is it then they're, it sounds like, at least, excited to start taking the reins over from you a little bit and learning from you?
Yeah, they're starting
Yeah.
they're starting to get to that point over the last year or
Yeah.
so.
Is there anything that you've done with them, maybe sat down and talked with them, or just, worked around them, that has gotten them to this point where they're excited about it, or at least that you can identify that maybe had an influence on that?
I mean, they come with me to a lot of my businesses. They see what we're doing. They see, how successful they are. They see all the different employees and how everyone's happy and they're fun places to be. They come around and see all my real estate stuff. They come check out some of the properties that I've bought when they're nasty. They see them when they're done.
Mhm.
Uh, they see, what I paid for it, what I sold it for. Uh, it's just fun. I make everything fun, so they see that, and they like it. They don't know a whole lot about the lending stuff as much, but as far as just seeing the houses from when we started to when we finished, they all live in like a nice house. They all have, they just know that life's good, so they know that if they could learn how to do all this stuff, they could, have similar good lives as well.
Yeah. Is there anything that they've identified as kind of a passion that they'd want to pursue, and maybe start a business in?
I mean, they just actually started over the last couple of years buying and selling stuff on eBay and on Amazon and different things. So I can see that they're starting to just get like that entrepreneurial bug.
Yeah.
But even when they were younger, they sold some candy in school. They did different things that I did. So I can see that they're more into buying and selling and business. So it'll be fun once they are able to be here more and learn how to do different things where they could do it on a bigger scale.
Yeah. It's funny that selling candy in school is something that's come up a handful of times on this. Like, you get
Yeah.
that bug early on and you figure out how you can, buy at a wholesale discount and sell for a little bit more. And hey, I
Uh-huh.
made a quarter, you know? It's-
Yeah.
that dates me a little bit, maybe making a quarter on a candy bar. But if you were to, God forbid, lose everything today,
Yeah.
are there any specific places you'd go, skills that you have worked on that you could lean on that would help you to build back up to where you are?
Yeah, I mean, so probably my best skill is just talking with people and getting people to like me. I think that's my best skill. Like I could go anywhere and get anyone to like me. That's why I'm very successful. That's what I think everyone should get good at.
Hmm.
If you can get people to like you, they'll do whatever you want. Plus, I'm very creative. So the reason why creative is important is because the way to be the most successful is to solve problems. So the more creative you are, the more problems the more problems you could solve. So I'm able to solve just about any single problem that comes up,
Hmm.
and I get people to like me at the same time doing it. So if you have those two skill traits, you can do anything. I
Yeah.
would say if I lost everything, I would go ahead and get with people that were successful, figure out ways to help them. They're definitely going to like me because I know how to get everyone to like me, and work with them, build it up, and then eventually have enough money to build up my own thing again.
Yeah.
But it's
Mhm.
pretty easy. Once you have the skills, the skills to do it all, the money will come. The money will come if you have the skills.
Well, and you mentioned there's something that, you mentioned it just kind of almost passing over it because it's kind of second nature to you, is going and finding somebody that's successful and finding out what they need and what they want and going and getting that for them and
You have
showing
to.
them the
That's
value.
how everyone. That's what everyone
Mm.
should do in the beginning. I don't care. That's what I did in the beginning. I didn't know business that well, so I went around people that were doing the same businesses I were and that were doing better than me, and I hung out with them and I tried to like see what they were doing and learn their secrets and um, in a non-threatening way and in a way that I could actually help them at the same time. And the same thing with real estate. Once I got into real estate in my early 20s, I had someone that was big into real estate for decades, and they saw, we got to like each other. They saw what I was doing in business, and I saw what they were doing, and then I got into real estate, and I learned from them. It's stupid to learn on your own everything. You're just gonna make too many mistakes. It's gonna be a lot slower. So whether you buy a program or whether you just learn from somebody that you could hang out with and see what they do that's good and copy them and learn from them and even do it better, that's the way to start really with anything that you do.
Yeah. Yeah. Why take 5 years to learn something when I could kind of get under the wing of somebody
Yeah,
that took the 5 years to learn something, and I can learn it in 5 months, or by showing them value, or by giving them value and getting them what they want. So I love that. It is. I feel like I know the answer to this, but what was that besides the candy at school? What was the first business entrepreneur endeavor that you took?
yeah. The first like real business I had that I was making like good money was selling sports cards. So I collected them when I was younger, and then when I turned 15, I started selling them at shows and then online, and I just grew that into a big business. So I made a lot of money in my teenage years buying and selling sports cards, baseball cards,
Yeah,
football cards, basketball cards.
interesting. Is that still a thing?
Yeah, it's still really big. Yeah,
Is it? Okay. I have some up in the attic that maybe we should talk about. No.
for sure.
Some old like Michael Jordan rookie cars and things like that. I don't
If
know if
it's a
they're
real
worth.
Michael Jordan rookie card, 1986, those are like thousands of bucks potentially, depending on
Yeah.
what condition you're in. Yeah,
I'm gonna keep them up there in the safe and let them continue to grow in value. Hopefully. Uh, you've mentioned that offloading some of the things that you don't enjoy the most has been something that you've really focused on over the years as you've grown your business. Um, you know, really devoting yourself into the things that you really enjoy and makes you happy, are there any habits, um, things that you do on a daily basis or even a weekly basis that have helped you grow as a business person, as a husband, as a father?
Yeah, I mean, I just like talking to a lot of people. That's probably what I like doing the most. So I'm always talking with different people, figuring out how I can help them, figuring out how they can help me, figuring out how we could, do business together. And then I'm solving problems for people all the time. A lot of people come to me with all their problems, and it's fun for me to figure out. Like, it's like a game, figure out how to solve their problems. So I get all day people telling me they had this issue, and then we end up working together and making money together. And then, of
Yeah.
course, you have to have your own free, space. So like I'll do a lot of, obviously you said martial arts. I do a lot of martial arts, but I do a lot of like healthcare, health stuff. Like I'll
Yeah.
get massages a lot, chiropractors, jacuzzi, saunas, all that type of stuff. So I love doing that all week. I do all these types of things. That clears my head, makes me feel good. And then when I am ready to do stuff, I'm ready. I'm not like worn out. I'm not, aching or anything like that.
Yeah. I
You
I've
want to have a
talked
clear
about
head.
it. Yeah,
It's
you got
important. Yeah.
I've talked about it on my other podcasts in Fit Fatherhood before. Is like we have these cups, and your employees need you to fill their, we're all walking around with these cups, and your employees need you to fill their cups up. Your wife needs you to fill her cup up. Your kids need you to fill their cup up. And if you're not taking time to fill your own cup up, when those
Yeah.
other people come around with their cups, you're empty. You don't have anything to give them. Is
Uh-huh.
this? It can be difficult for some people to wrap their head around, especially when we're starting out in our entrepreneurial journeys and when a business is fresh and we're like, I gotta work 15 hours a day in order to get this thing off the ground. Is the self-care, the massages, the chiropractic, the taking care of yourself, is that something that you've always done or you've had to learn over time,
Yeah. I
as
mean,
you've
I didn't
grown?
I didn't do it in my 20s that much, but I would say once I got into my 30s and 40s, I definitely did it a lot. I felt a big difference when I did it, and it just helped me with all aspects of my life when I started doing that stuff. You've got to take care of yourself, or else if you don't feel good, it's hard to make other people feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, like, is it like you gotta light the other candles if you're not taking the time to keep your candle lit? Like, what the heck? Yolanda's got a bunch of questions over here. Hey, Pansy, by the way. Uh, since you seem so, what are your what are some personal clothes? Hmm. We'll skip that one for now, Yolanda. Maybe you could rewrite that one in the chat because I can't figure that one out. She's got, since you seem to have, what are some personal goals maybe that you're looking forward to achieve? Do you have a bucket list?
Yeah, so my
Mm.
personal goals at this point, yeah, obviously my personal goals change from year to year and from decade to decade, but my personal goals now. So originally, when I was younger, it was to make myself the best I can be, make as much money, make sure I'm super successful. So I feel like I've gotten to that. So that's not necessarily any of my goals anymore. Now my goals are to have the best relationship with my wife and kids, my best relationship with my. And by the way, I've been with my wife for 28 years now. So we've been together forever,
Yeah.
and our kids. So my goal is to help all my friends around me, to help my kids, my wife, to have, we go on trips a lot. Like I take my kids on trips many times a year. It's a lot of times there's weekend trips. Sometimes we go on longer trips. I go on trips with my wife, at least a couple times a year for cool trips. And then I go out with my friends too. Like, you have to go out and do your own thing too. So I go on at least a couple trips every year with my friends. And my goals again are just to teach my friends. And so a lot of my really good friends weren't doing business, weren't doing real estate, weren't doing all these things, before they knew me. And 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And as I get good friends, I teach them how to do it. So a lot of my good friends now are making a ton of money in real estate. They never did real estate before, in business. They never
Mm.
did business before. So it's really cool to see the impact that you can make on other people when you show them different things to do. Um, I have a lot of people that come around me and hang out and become really good friends, and we do stuff together, and it's cool seeing their progression.
Yeah, that's interesting that you mention, you say that you made friends with them and then brought them into the business world. My experience has been the opposite, is that I met people through the business world and then we became friends. So it's,
It
yeah,
happens both ways.
interesting.
So a lot of the
Yeah.
people that a lot of the people that went the opposite way of what with you was we were like friends. We met like through martial arts, or we met through other hobbies or activities that we do. And because we were friends with that other stuff, then we went into business. But then a lot of times it's the opposite. We're doing business with different people. We become friends, and now I help them do better. They help me do better, and then a lot of times they end up doing a lot of stuff I end up liking personally. I've got a lot of people into jujitsu. I've got a lot of people into
Yeah.
doing more massages and saunas and all that too. So it goes both ways.
Yeah. You mentioned the being married for 28 years, right?
Yeah,
28 years. Is
yeah,
there any advice that you would give to somebody who's been married for, I better get this right, almost 6 years now?
yeah. So
I heard her giggle in the background.
I have a ton. I have a ton of advice to have good relationships. So obviously no one's perfect all the time. We get in some arguments, but they're pretty much always minor arguments. Everyone's going to get in some. So you've got to figure out how to end them where everyone's happy at the end, right?
Mhm.
What I've seen is I've had a lot of people come to me like, how are you married for this many years? And, you never have major fights, or, all these different things, the kids are always happy. So with relationships in particular, what I've seen when people come to me and they say they have problems with their girlfriends, wives, husbands, boy, whatever it is, it's usually a couple different things. The main thing that I see though is time. They're like, oh, my wife says I don't spend enough time with her, or that's the most thing. A lot of times it's money, a lot of times it's time, and sometimes it's you're cheating on them or something like that. But if
Oh,
you're
yeah.
cheating on them, you shouldn't cheat on them. That's kind of
Yeah.
easy. Money, there's ways around that. But the most common thing that I see is time. They're like, oh, my wife's mad, I can't come out because I don't spend enough time with her. I got to spend time with her. And that's kind of the most common thing that I hear. And that's kind of what happened in the beginning. Because, if you're going to be making a lot of money and being in business, doing real estate, you have to spend a decent amount of time on those things. And on top of that, you've got to have your own time to go to the gym, to work out, to, hang out with your friends, do all that. And then you got to have time for your kids, and you got to have time for your wife. You got to make sure you have time for everything. So most of the problems that I've seen is, again, with their wives and girlfriends. I'm just saying wives and girlfriends because that's what I have. Obviously, if you're, have a boyfriend, just change it over. But
Yeah.
it's usually time. So they're like, how in the world do you get your wife to let you do whatever you want, spend all the time doing your business and never having an issue with time? And I said, well, in the beginning, we had problems with that. In the beginning, she's like, yeah, I need you to spend more time with me. I need you to spend more time with me. But I said, it's been over 20 years since we've had this issue. I said, I had one, serious conversation, with my wife, and we had, together, we had a serious conversation. Since that conversation, it's never come up, and everything's been great. And so everyone's like, well, what was that conversation? And then I tell them, and then most people, after I tell them my story and the conversation, most people come to me like a month or 3 months later, like, holy crap, you don't understand. Like, you just made my life so much better, like with my girlfriend, with whatever. So so it's cool because I tell people what I did, and I've had a lot of people do it. And now I always, every month, have more people telling me that it's helped them save their relationship or made the relationship a lot better. And they don't have that problem with their wife saying that they don't spend enough time with them and all that. So
Yeah.
do you want to hear the story?
I'd love to if we have time for it. Yeah. I was gonna ask.
So this was the conversation. The conversation was, my wife is like, oh, you need to spend more time with me. I'm like, all right, cool. I was like, well, what do you like about the time that we spend together? Like, oh, it's so good. We go out, we don't get bothered. Like, you're focused on me, I'm focused on you. It's just a great time. I'm like, yes, exactly. And you love that time together, right? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, I love that time together too. The reason why that time is so good is because I'm not focused on anything. You're not focused on anything. You did what you had to do. I did what I have to do. I don't have to think about different things. I don't have to think about my business because I had enough time to spend there and I got everything done I need to do. I don't have to think about, going, not feeling good because I didn't go to the gym, because I went to the gym. I spent that time. So, that time that we spent together, and I'm just going to make up a time. Let's just say it's 10 hours a week. That 10 hours a week we spend together is great quality time because I've done everything else I need to do. And that's why I could bring such a great, aurora to the, when we spend time together. And she's like, well, I really want you to spend like 30 hours a week with me. I'm like, all right, cool. I could spend 30 hours a week with you. That's no problem. But if I spend that 30 hours a week with you, I'm not going to be going to the gym as much. I'm not going to be spending as much time with my friends. I'm not going to be able to do all the work and finish everything to maximize what, I was doing before, which is okay. I don't mind sacrificing that stuff. But what's going to happen is when I'm with you during those 30 hours now, I'm going to be thinking about different things that I didn't do. I'm not going to feel as good about myself because I didn't work out. There's a lot of different things that aren't going to be the same. We'll have 30 hours together, but I just have a feeling it's not going to be the best quality time. It'll be good time, but it won't be like the best quality time. So I'm like, look, do you want me to, when we spend that 10 hours a week together, do you want it to be the best quality time, just like it's always been and we both love it? And there's nothing else on our minds. We've done everything else we need to do. Or do you want to spend a lot more time together and possibly when we're together thinking about other stuff that we didn't finish, maybe not feeling the best because you didn't get that extra workout in that makes you feel so good or whatever else. And you just tell me, I'm like, I'm happy to do whatever you want to do. Like, I love you. I want to make this work. Just you tell me, think about it. And the next day she comes back, she's like, I thought about it. I get it. Like, let's just do the 10 hours a week. And, the quality time is more important than the actual quantity of time. And that was the conversation. And it's really never come up. And the few times that it came up a couple of times afterwards, I just bring up that conversation. Remember that conversation we had where you wanted to have that quality time and not the quantity? I was like, I'm happy to change at any point, but you wanted this quality time. That I think that's the way we have it. So anyhow, that was kind of the conversation. It's a longer story than that, but I kind of cut it down to a short version.
Yeah.
And so I've told that to some people when they asked me about that particular problem, and they had that same conversation with their girlfriends or wives or boyfriends or husband, whatever. And if you say it right, it really clicks and it makes sense. It's hard to argue, and it's really helped a lot of people. So that one conversation is one. I have a million different things, but that was the one conversation that it's probably helped the most people I've talked to, because time seems to be one of the big issues people have in their relationships.
Yeah, time, and I could imagine money and time and
money and time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I could imagine that I could think about ways you can tweak that into a money conversation as well, and pretty, probably any topic that you want. I appreciate that. I don't know if we've talked relationships on the podcast before, but somebody that's been in a successful one for 28 years, has a lot of different businesses. If you can do it, having run all these businesses, like, why the heck can't we do it? Why can't we take these things and apply them to our lives and our businesses? Pansy wants to know, she's been waiting on pins and needles. When are you coming to Chicago next?
Yeah. So, remember I was telling you before, I go on weekend trips with my kids. We'll try to go once every month or so somewhere and do something together. So I took my two boys to Chicago for a weekend trip. They want to go to Chicago. They haven't been. So we went to Chicago. We went to a Bulls game. We went out. So Pansy met us. And she was one of the only. I only met Pansy and I think Effie, the two different days, and we hung out. We went out to eat. We went to some Chicago pizza place and took the kids, and so we hung out for that weekend. So it was pretty fun. And then I have a camera guy that came with us, and he had this big camera, and they wouldn't let us. So I bought tickets to the Bulls game, and they wouldn't let us take cameras into the game. So Pansy was nice enough to take the camera and bring it to my hotel room, drop it off. And so we were able to go to the game. But yeah, that was a fun weekend. But we've hung out after that. We were just at Squad Up and places. But when am I coming back to Chicago? I don't know, but probably sometime next year. I don't know if I'm planning on coming this year, but I do go out there every so often. So we'll hook up when I'm there.
Yeah, Pansy's patient. She'll be patient and wait. It's good. What is it? Good things come to those who wait.
Yeah, Pansy drives and goes all over the country though. She's in a different state all the time. She likes driving all over the place. I remember she went on some road trips, hit everywhere. So.
Oh yeah. Not me. I did my driving when I was younger.
When I was younger,
yeah. 24 hours in the car, no big deal. But now it's 20 minutes. I think I'm pretty set. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, that was an early 20s thing and late teens. But now I like flying and just kind of.
That's right. Yeah. Get it over with. Relax. Yolanda really appreciates the story you said about the relationships. I do as well. Time is always something that
I'll use that story once. I allow time for a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. maybe talking to your former self, your younger self when you were stuck in certain places in your business, but talking to me, talking to the audience as well. Do you have any advice for how to get unstuck, how to get past some hurdles?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to figure out what's going on in your life and make sure that there's nothing else stressful in your life that's holding you back. But literally what we talked about before, anytime I'm stuck in something, I go find someone that has been through that's already done it and successful. So
Mm.
it's really about finding the right people and getting around those people that have done what you want to do, to the level you want to do it, and figuring out a way to get in their inner circle, whether, you help them in some sort of way and now they help you. But there's always ways to help anybody. I don't care, who you are. Everyone could use help. What I've seen is it's kind of like better not to ask people what you can do to help them. It's better just to try to figure it out and just do it. Like if it's 100 times more impact if you're able to help someone and figure out something that can help them and just do it than to ask someone and have someone tell you.
Yeah.
So I would try to figure it out. There's always something. It doesn't matter who it is.
So you mentioned earlier you like to have conversations with people and kind of find out what they're struggling with, what they're needing, and what kind of opportunities you can create. Are
Mhm.
there any, and then you mentioned just right now, you don't explicitly ask, "Hey, what are you struggling with? What are you needing?" Are there any questions that you like to ask maybe consistently in these conversations that will peel back the layers of how you can serve this other person?
Depends on what type of person that you're trying to talk to. So like if you're talking to people that are on a higher level than you on the things that you want to get good at. And when I say higher level on things you want to get good at, everybody is good at different things. So the things that I'm really good at, I might be better than you at, but there's probably as much or more stuff that you're better than me at. It's just different things. So
Mm.
it just depends on what somebody wants to learn. So I'm gonna find if I find someone that is really good at stuff that I want to get better at, I'm gonna see what they like. I'm gonna see, do they like sports? Do they like, arts? Do they like, fishing? Do they like whatever it is? I'm gonna figure out different things that they like and come up with something cool I could give them that has to do with it. If they like a certain a ball team, maybe you give them some sort of specialized thing with that ball team. If they like drinking coffee, maybe you give them something cool with coffee. If they like,
Mm.
grandkids, that you give them something to give them. I don't know, but you figure out what's important to them in their life. Everyone has something important to them. You just got to figure out what it is, and then you give them something that is very unique to what they like that a normal person wouldn't do. So it stands out. It has to stand out. If you give somebody something that everybody else is going to give them, they're not going to remember you. So I try to figure out what they really care about, what they're passionate about, what they really like. And worst comes to worst, if they have kids or grandkids, they're always gonna like stuff with their kids and grandkids. So you could always do something for them. If something they're really passionate about, figure out what it is. And then if they're doing business, figure out what they can do, what they need in their business to make more money. If they're fix and flippers, figure out a way to get them more properties. If they're lending, figure out how to give them more loans or how to raise money for them. Or there's always something. Again, it depends on the person. So if it's someone that is trying to get you to help them, you figure out what figure out ways how they can help you and structure it in a way to where they're going to do something and it's going to help both of you. But what I like to do is if it's someone like that is tell them, look, give them a few things to do and see if they actually do it or show up on
Mm.
time because most of the time that what I've seen 90% of the people, they're like, oh, can I come spend time with you or can I do this? And you tell them a few things to do and nobody does what you tell them. So those people are kind of like worthless. And that's kind of what happens most of the time. So I like, giving somebody one or two things and seeing if they actually do it. And then I'll know if there's somebody that long-term is, everybody wants a cheat code, but they don't want to do the work or do anything. So
Yeah.
you have to do
Yeah.
some sort of work. So again, it depends. Am I trying to find someone that I'm trying to learn from that's on a higher level than me at the thing that I'm trying to learn? Or is it someone that wants to learn from me? I'm going to give them a different type of thing to see if there's someone that's worthy of helping and that long term, if I do help them, they're actually going to make something of it.
Yeah, for sure. I have people that come and say, "How do I talk to sellers?" Well, go talk to sellers. Go call 100 sellers first, and then we could talk about how you navigate those
And
conversations
a lot
once
of
you
those,
learn
and
about
most of
them.
those people will never do it. Most of the people will never
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
So they're thinking there's some sort of cheat code and some sort of like trick to like bypass all this stuff. There isn't.
yeah,
You've got to put the work in. You've got to do it.
yeah. Well, speaking of finding out what you need a little bit more, I mean, it sounds like you're doing 12 to 15 flips at a time. You've got a good pipeline going. But what are you typically looking for in the Atlanta market, around the Atlanta market, in properties that you're looking to
So
flip?
as far as fix, I'm always looking for any type of property, a single family, townhomes, condos. Single family is what I focus on. Anything within like an hour drive of Atlanta, so typically about 50
Okay.
miles north, east, south, or west of Atlanta, that I could buy and make money on as a fix and flip. So I don't care what size it is, how expensive, how cheap it is, what year built. I don't care. I just got to be able to make money on it after I fix it up and sell it. And
Okay.
I buy, like you said, 12 to 15 a month. And I rehab about a third of them, or maybe sometimes a little bit more. And then the others, I do like a little minor something another, and usually just sell it to another investor or something. I can't fix and flip all of them. It's too much, too
Interesting.
much money tied up, too much time, and not enough crews. Um, but I'll buy them if it's a good deal, and I'll find somebody else that wants it. But I don't wholesale. I've never wholesaled. Everything I buy, I pay cash for. I close on. And then after I own it, I'll figure out what needs to be done, if I want to take it all the way, or if I want to just, clean it up and then give it to somebody else or whatever. But I always improve it, somewhat.
Awesome. Are there any easy calculations that somebody
Yeah,
could do to say, oh, this is something that
yeah.
Abraham will buy?
Very easy calculation. So
Mm.
I would now, okay, the calculations are very easy, but you have to know how to comp a property. If you don't know how
Yeah.
to comp a property, it doesn't matter what the calculation is because you're calculating a wrong number. But once you get good at comping properties, then you figure out what a property is worth once it's fixed up. I typically pay up to 80% of it, and then minus what the rehab cost is going to be. So in the good areas and areas, and houses that don't need like crazy amount of work, I'm happy to pay up to 80% minus the rehab.
Mm.
If it needs a lot of work, or it's not the best area that I like working in, maybe I'm paying 75% minus the rehab. And if it's just the worst areas and just needs a ton of work, then I'm closer to 70%. But definitely between 70 and 80% minus what the rehab is of what it's actually worth, is what I'll buy anything for. Most of the stuff I buy, I pay 80% because most of the stuff I buy, needs under $50,000 worth of work and is in areas that, make sense to buy in, that I like more. Most areas I like. So the areas I don't like are maybe some of the, like the inner city areas are kind of rougher for me. Areas that are further away, or areas that, the permits process and they
Mm.
are very hard. Those can be worse areas, but for the most part, 85% of Atlanta I like. So I'm paying that 80% minus the rehab.
I love it. And you mentioned that you're buying them in cash.
Cash, everything.
Is this your cash, or is this because I know you're raised? Okay.
No, I use my cash. If I use somebody else's
Yeah.
cash, it's a loan. Then I still have to go through all the loan docs. No, everything
Yeah.
is my own cash. I mean, luckily I've made tons of money over my life, and I have ridiculous amounts of money to use for as many
Yeah.
properties as I buy. So I use my own cash for all the stuff I buy. And I usually turn them pretty fast. But I do raise a lot of money, but that's for loans. So I give lots of loans out, and I use a decent amount of my own money for loans. But I also use investors' money for loans. So that's what I use investors' money for. All the investors that I have, all their money is put into other people's loans, not mine.
Yeah, and I'm glad that's beautiful segue here. As far as lending goes, if somebody is it all of Georgia, or are there specific
I mean,
areas?
I lend like 90 some percent in the Atlanta market in the
Okay.
areas that I buy. But for people that I know really well, I've done other deals with, I'll go further out. So I do loan money to places that I wouldn't buy in, but they're still in Georgia.
Okay.
So
Augusta.
I haven't loaned in Augusta, but I've loaned in Savannah, which is further. I've loaned in like Macon. I've loaned in Milledgeville, Columbus. Those are kind of areas I wouldn't buy in, but I do loan. But they're typically people that I've either loaned money to before, or I have like an amount that I'll loan people. And if I'm loaning more than an hour away from Atlanta, I'll loan them a lower loan to value ratio, right? So like I'll loan somebody a certain amount, 70 to 80% in Atlanta. If it's in Augusta or in Savannah or wherever, I'm gonna at least take 10 to 15% lower, just to be
Okay.
safe, because I don't do those areas. So 95% of my loans are within an hour of Atlanta, but the 5% that aren't, I'm just going to give a lower loan to value, or it's got to be someone I know, that I've done a lot of other deals with.
The loan to value. loan to value, loan to cost. I can get confused with sometimes when we're talking loan to value. Are we looking at what the future value is, ARV, or current?
Depends who you talk to. I mean, I am loaning on the as is value. So
Okay.
when I talk about loan to value, I'm talking about the loan to the as is value. Some people might say loan to the after repair value, but then you calculate it differently. But I'm talking about what it's actually worth right now, today, not what it's worth later, and that I'm loaning based on that. But
Yeah.
it's a very simple calculation to get from the after repair value to the actual as is value. All you're doing is figuring out how much is the repairs, how much is the rehab cost to get from the as is to the ARV. So you can always figure out the after repair value and deduct the repairs, and now you have the as is value. It's just that simple.
Yeah. And then take 80% of that number and
Yeah, so you're either
depending on where
most
you're at.
people are
Yeah.
always going to lend on the as is value. You can't loan on the only way you could loan on the after repair values is if you give them money in draws as they do repairs. So you could loan money on the after repair value, but you can't give them the money till after they're getting it better and repairing it.
Yeah. And that's just so you as the lender, correct me if I'm mistaken here, but that's so you as the lender, if the borrower doesn't do what they say they're going to do, you can come in, take it over, and now you have at least some equity in there so you can
Yeah,
flip it.
exactly. You got
Yeah.
to have collateral. If you ever loan money to anyone and you don't have collateral, just assume you're giving them a gift because most of the time you don't get the money back. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just basically what happens. So, yeah, I loan people about what I pay for it, or sometimes a little bit less. So if they don't pay me, I take the property. I'm happy to buy it for that anyway, and I'll just sell it and make money on the property. And the
Yeah.
reason why I do Georgia is because Georgia is one of the fastest states to foreclose. It's 30 days. So if someone doesn't pay you, you can get the property within 30 days. And that's the reason why I'll go other places of Georgia, not just Atlanta, because I still could foreclose really fast. And as long as I'm loaning them a lower loan to value, I'll figure out somebody that could sell it or take it over.
Yeah.
But luckily, it's very rare that I have to do that. It's 1 out of 500 properties I have to foreclose on.
Oh, that's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah.
Good.
It's
Yeah.
very minimal.
Yeah. That's because you've built those relationships. Probably, you know, the borrowers, you've met the
And I
borrowers.
loan a safe amount. And I loan a safe amount,
Yeah.
So if you loan somebody more than it's worth, you're going to be foreclosing a lot.
Yeah. Well, as we're coming up to the top of the hour, I want to make sure I'm respectful of your time. I do have a couple questions. You know, like I mentioned, I'm going through the process of making the questions a little bit more consistent over the episodes. I have been asking everybody, number one, if somebody has properties in Atlanta or the surrounding areas, if they have um, properties that they'd like to borrow, get lending from,
Yeah.
where's the best place to reach out to you?
Or if they want
Email?
to, or if they want to invest money into different
There you
loans.
go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, best is for sure email. I answer my emails crazy fast. Sometimes I answer my emails before they even send them. That's how fast I am sometimes. But
Yeah.
it's my email. It's my name, Abraham, Abraham, and then it's 6 letters, MMA like mixed martial arts, and then ATL like Atlanta. So .com. Abraham at MMAATL.com. And if you email me, you're getting a response for sure. And definitely be the same day, but usually within the hour.
Awesome. That's not in the show notes currently, but I'll make sure that gets into the show notes for anybody in the future.
Yeah.
You mentioned,
and anyone that messages me on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, I answer all those as well, but email is the fastest.
Yeah. Which is amazing, actually. You are so busy and still take the time to respond to all those DMs. It's something that I really admire about you and, Pace and all these other people. Like, your social media is big, your businesses are big, but still you're taking the time to have that personal connection. You've mentioned the connection with people multiple times here over the past 50 minutes. And, that's something that's important to you, building that connection with people. So I love that. You along those lines of building that connection, I'm going to ask you for some book recommendations, but do you have anything specifically to building those relationships? Any books, any podcasts, even the like that have helped you to grow that skill?
So this is a crazy answer because no one ever believes me, but I've really never read a book in my life. So I can't even like tell you a book that's good. The only books that I could remember ever reading in my life were like when I was a little baby. I remember reading Cat in the Hat, you know, Fluff the Bunny or something like that. It was called. I don't know. It was kind of cool. You get to like feel the
Yeah,
time.
that's good.
No, but I really haven't read books. But what's cool is that I talk to a lot of people that read books,
Mm,
so they tell me their favorite books. So I know like all the good books just by hearing people tell me, "Oh, this was a good book. This was a good book," but I've never read them. But
interesting.
they'll tell me the best parts about the book, so I feel like I know what the book's about because they'll just tell me what they liked about the book. So I kind of, I don't know. I don't have time to read a book. Like, I mean, I could
Mm,
make time, but then I would have to like not do something else, and I just never. I'll go watch movies if they make a movie out of a book. I'll go watch that. But
okay.
yeah, I'm just not a book person.
Yeah. Well, you're the second person now that has said that. And it's a testament to there's not one right way to go about this.
No,
You
everyone's
know?
different.
Yeah, you don't have to go read to be successful. That's for darn sure. Okay, well, we'll skip the books. So thanks, Abraham. Yeah. The last question I like to ask everybody, and I'm using my imagination to see where you're going to go with this, but I'm typically wrong, is once your time on this earth is done, you go wherever you believe you're going to go. What do you want to be remembered for by the people that you've left behind?
Yeah, so I mean, the most important thing is just to be remembered as a good person. You want people to remember you as someone that was a good person. They were someone that helped me. They were someone that helped me progress in my life, and they always did the right thing, and they cared about other people. I think that's kind of what everyone's answer should be. I don't
Yeah.
know what everyone's answer is, but I would imagine that's what makes the most sense. I mean, what else really matters, you know?
Yeah. Love, respect, kind. Yeah. Be
Yeah.
kind. Yeah. I appreciate you. Any parting words for anybody in the audience, live or in the future?
Let's do business together. Let's make money together. Let's if you guys are in Atlanta, if anyone's in Atlanta, come by, come by my office. Let's go hang out. We have meetups almost every week in Atlanta. So if you're in Atlanta, we definitely should meet in person. But if not, let's become friends on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all these other things, and figure out ways to help each other make money together.
Yeah. I appreciate you for coming on, networking with Nathaniel Abraham.
Yep.
I know you're a very busy dude, so I just want to express that gratitude, appreciate it,
Sure.
appreciative of you. I know that we had the scheduling thing, and
Yeah.
you had actually blocked off time for the podcast two or weeks ago or whatever that was, and so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you redoing it. So,
And we had, I
uh,
think we had our days. Like I thought it was one day after that you thought. I
yeah,
don't know something. I don't know how that. Whatever. But anyway,
what and like
everyone
I
always. Yeah. Everyone when I do podcasts, they always like send me an email or text or something the day of, or at least the day before. So I was like,
yeah
okay, I didn't get it, so I must be right. It was, and I don't know, but
yeah
whatever.
I
You
learned a bunch of lessons, and so I'm appreciative of that as well. Like I learned a bunch of lessons.
you should be
Unfortunately,
emailing.
you were
You
the
should
one
be
that
emailing everybody the day of or the day before at least.
yeah. I think you should have gotten one this time.
I did. I got one yesterday.
Okay. Yeah,
But I,
sweet. So
I had it on my calendar like 3 times, so like there was no way I was gonna miss it. I was like, I felt really bad about the last time,
yeah.
and I was like, there's
No,
no
it
way
was
I'm missing this one. Like I'm,
you were the first person that I did the automation of the emails through.
yeah,
Every previously I was doing it all manually. I'm like, there's got to be a better way because sometimes I would forget to send
yeah,
it at the right time. Like, no, I got to automate this. So, and what happened was when you booked it, it sent the day before email like almost immediately.
yeah. It was like a month or two before the thing, so
Yeah.
I didn't even
Yeah.
remember.
So I screwed and I didn't,
It wasn't
yeah,
in my
it was
calendar.
it was,
It didn't
yeah,
get put in my
it's all
calendar.
okay.
So
Yeah. I appreciate you, man.
yeah,
Have a blessed rest of your day. Thank you so much.
yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
Later, man.
Yeah.
Abraham Gray, amazing, amazing entrepreneur, businessman, husband. I was not expecting to learn that conversation technique, if you will, of having the conversation with your spouse, with your significant other. You can use that in so many different aspects, so many different relationships to kind of tweak it and make it where you need it to be. He did mention, if you're struggling with comping, if you are struggling with comping, I hold office hours every Thursday at noon Eastern time where you can come in and we can talk about where your struggles are in the comping process. We can go through properties together, bring ones in, and we can do them live, or we can just pull random ones off of Zillow and go through them together. That is such an important skill, whether you're wholesaling, whether you're buying, whether you're lending, to know where the future value is going to be of a property. So if that's something that you're struggling with, go to nathanielhavsepian.com or just DM me on Facebook, Instagram, whatever else places you could DM somebody at. I'm not on TikTok though, so don't look for me on TikTok. But it's been a pleasure. If you're here live, you're still hanging out. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel so you can get notified for all future videos. We will be back next week, Wednesday, noon Eastern time, with another amazing guest. Have a blessed day, everybody.